Welcome back to Tech Tuesdays, everyone. Kevin Hunter here with Harry Brelsford coming to us live out of the Denver, Colorado area. Harry, you're at Ingram One today, and we did this same show last year with you. So tell us what's going on with Ingram One here this year.
Yeah. Last year was at the Gaylord in Washington, D.C. Beautiful. Now we're at the Gaylord in Denver. Beautiful, right out by the airport. So Ingram One is an annual conference, just over 1,000 attendees. These tend to be larger partners. So I think everybody's heard about Ingram, right? Mm-hmm. Ingram Micro. Ingram is a publisher, a distributor, a this, or that. $44 billion in revenue. So they're a big dog. And what's going on is it's the annual confab, and a couple of things to kind of get us going is that, first of all, I am in the As a Service Cafe. And in technology, Kevin, everything is becoming as a service, which kind of means, it's a loose translation is you get a monthly mobile phone bill, you get a monthly cable bill, and we've all gone to this recurring revenue model, etc. But what's really cool about this cafe is it really resembles what Capital One is doing in banking, right? Their little lobbies are actually coffee shops. And there's a whole, I've actually read up on this, there's a whole lot of theory behind it, mind mapping. They want the customer to feel comfortable, blah, blah, blah. Behind me, what you see is one of the parts of the cafe. You're looking at one of four corners, but that tends to be the security area behind me. That's a heat map right above my head, to my left, of myself. The camera's on me and projecting is a heat map rendering. That's why it's purple and different colors. But this is all about video surveillance and security. So it's pretty cool. Let's first talk about the conference pillars. What are we talking about here? So there's three main pillars: hybrid IT and cloud, Internet of Things. Number two, Internet of Things, IoT, and number three, of course, security. And Kevin, this is not a big stretch. We have talked about security all through 2019. Occasionally, we have talked about IoT. And of course, hybrid IT would mean there's an on-premises component behind this plant. I don't know how well you can see it. It's a good old-fashioned server rack, right? Yep. So there's still a role to have on-prem servers, especially in healthcare and defense. So those are the three pillars that we're talking about. Now, an executive, a gentleman named Paul Bay, an Ingram executive, and when you're an executive at Ingram, you're a real executive, right? That's I just play one on TV.
Well, you're doing a great acting job, Harry.
Yeah. And he said, I want to launch the conference and talk about the computer guy, the computer gal, the IT pro, again, managed services provider, MSP. We want to talk about sustainable value this year, right? Sustainable value, because that makes you relevant. And he said there's three ways to achieve that, and he went into some examples I won't go into, but three ways in his mind: creativity, mass customization, and then how products are delivered. And one of his examples, no surprise to you or the listeners, would have been Amazon, with a lot of the blue ocean fields they get into, the ability to customize things. So for example, often a piece of electronics you get from Amazon, a Kindle, will be already pre-customized with your logon information when you open it. And then of course it goes without saying, but I'll say it, how products are delivered. If anybody's nailed logistics and supply chain, it's Amazon. So he was talking about that, but Kevin, these are the kind of things that we can talk about in any setting. I just happen to be at Ingram One in Denver. So thoughts: sustainable value, creativity, customization, and delivery. Go.
Well, it is the whole package, and I wanted to comment specifically on one of the pillars that you mentioned at this conference, security. And we have noticed this with, all the conferences you've attended from around the U.S. here, and then the conferences that I've had the pleasure of attending together with you. And in some of them, security is not only a significant pillar as it pertains to data and what's going on in the world of computers, but at some of these conferences, security is almost like the singular pillar. Like I can think of some of them that we've been to where pretty much every presenter, every booth, every vendor that was there had a connection or an importance to security. And so when we're talking about data, when we're talking about people's vital information, it's not like the old data on somebody's ledger sitting in their desk at work anymore. It's out there where the bad guys can get their hands on it. And there's a reason why security is a big component of this. So I'm kind of curious, when you mentioned about the security and monitoring that we're actually seeing in the background that's going on there, behind you, I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are specifically on the message that they're sharing with regard to security, because I can tell you that it's an ongoing conversation in the business world, data security. What are you seeing there, and is there anything new that's come out there relative to security?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say there's anything new. Now, Kevin, in all fairness, today is the first day of the conference, and it just launched about 3 hours ago. It's a 3-day conference. So in all fairness, I can't answer that question as much as I'd like to, but I can answer it this way, that what we're really talking about so far, so the first half of the first day, is again going back to that sustainable value and being relevant, and security lends itself to that, right? That it's only getting worse out there. The bad actors are getting good. Every single day I get an email in my inbox that looks real. Got a notification I had PayPal account trouble. Didn't click it, had a misspelling in the subject line.
Yeah.
So didn't click it. But I think that's the key, is that what people are here looking for is sustainability. So I can't offer that there's necessarily a breakthrough that I'm aware of at this conference, but this would be more what are the solutions that are available, staying relevant. Again, a lot like a doctor. You hope doctors read medical journals and go to industry conferences to learn the latest and greatest. What I'm not seeing so far, let me take one more try at this. What I'm not seeing so far is, earlier today, Kevin, you and I are aware that on the news there was a breakthrough in solar energy from a Bill Gates-backed startup that is much more efficient with solar, and the panels get much hotter, so they could use it for steel mills and stuff that was way beyond the rooftop panels. Sir, that is a breakthrough, and I'm not seeing it. With all due respect, I'm not seeing that here at the conference.
Well, you had an opportunity to attend the keynote, the opening keynote for the event. Talk about that a little bit, and who was the speaker?
Yeah. So they always bring in a rock star. In fact, you have her up on your screen right above me, Renee. So Renee's claim to fame was a book some time ago that was probably required in the MBA programs, called Blue Ocean Strategy. And it's a very simple concept. How do you wake up in the morning? Is it an abundance philosophy, blue ocean, or is it a scarcity, red ocean? And there you are. And she's come out with a new book. She has propelled this thing into a 30-year career with her partner. And basically they have a series of, you could hire them to go through management consulting training at your large organization. That's all pretty clear. But what she was talking about today was again, the aforementioned Amazon, Uber, Netflix, some people that put an emphasis on creativity, not necessarily a focus on their competition, and again, approach it from a blue ocean. And Kevin, here's the deal. I love the fact these tech conferences, they always bring in the one rock star to give the keynote, right? And get people motivated. But you know what? I need that too. I need to touch positivity, and that's what these keynotes tend to be. You typically don't have a downtrodden Eeyore from the Winnie the Pooh series up on stage.
Right. Well, I noticed she has published several best-selling articles in Harvard, the Management Science, Organization Science, Strategic Management Journal. She has a lot that she's published out there. And yeah, she's very much a rock star in that circle. And I do like the approach and attitude that she has about life. And I can tell you this from personal experience and just the number of people that I've observed over the years, is that what you really believe about whether you're in time of scarcity or you're in time of plenty, and what you expect to get out of life, you tend to fulfill your own prophecy. So if you're a significant believer in yourself and what you can do, and you believe you'll get the best out of life, that pretty much comes true. And on the flip side of that, if you think the worst is going to happen to you, it does regularly. So where our mindset is at and how we're thinking about the world that's around us is really, really important.
It is. And I journaled, for lack of a better word, but I journaled, I don't know, earlier this year for whatever reason, but I journaled about worry, right? Mm-hmm. People, I suppose I do too, but I try not to. And but people worry, and I journaled, Kevin, that I think there's a correlation. You can, I'll give it to you straight. You can say, well, asbestos causes cancer, right? So we call that environmental, right? Like you worked in a shipyard. Maybe you have bad DNA. Bad DNA might cause cancer, right? Mm-hmm. It goes down the Barak test or whatever that thing's called, and it goes down through your family line. But I scratched my head and I said, I wonder if there's been any research on worry and anxiety being causing health concerns, and I would offer, I don't know about cancer. That's we're talking cell splitting, and that's a different motion. But I could tell you this: I do believe worry and anxiety would lead to cardiovascular disease.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's really interesting is on this subject of worry. I was just in Michigan here recently visiting with a group of people that we were having lunch over, and one of the people in the group talked about how significant worry has been in their life, and immediately her spouse mentions that it's had a pretty big toll on her health. And I shared something. I said, there's a concrete way to teach yourself if what you're worrying about is really worth your time and effort, and then ultimately the expense to your health, as has been the case for this lady. And I told him, I said, when I was in my early 20s, I actually did this exercise, and I would suggest that people do who spend a lot of time worrying about things in life. I wrote down so during the course of a day, I would write down what that worry was, time of day when it happened, what the date was and everything else. And then I put it face side down in my drawer. And over the course of 60 days, I just kept stacking them up. So eventually when I got to the end of 2 months, I had 2 months worth of worries in the drawer. And so then, and this was actually an idea that was given to me by a very successful business person. And so then when I get to my 61st day, what you do is you write down your worry again, put it face down on the top, and you pull the one out from the very bottom and see if it was a legitimate worry at all. Did it come to fruition? Did any of those things come out? And the reason why 60 days is you can still be emotionally attached to a worry that you had a week ago or a month ago, but usually by 2 months down the road, you've kind of forgotten about it. And you know that out of 100 pieces of paper, so sometimes you might write down a worry 3 or 4 times in a given day. So you could end up with a lot of worries stacking up in that drawer. So then what I did is I took the worry that I said, actually that was legitimate, and here's why. I put that in a different drawer by itself. And all the ones that were completely not legitimate worries and was just absolutely stupid to be worrying about, I put in a different drawer. And so I carried that on for another 60 days. And the study was to teach yourself that worry really wasn't worth your time or effort, because I get to the end of the subsequent 60 days, and I have about 130 pieces of paper in the drawer that was completely BS worries I shouldn't have worried about. And there's 3 items in the other drawer that were legitimate worries. So I'm going, wow, we spend like 97, 98% of our time worrying about things that didn't even matter. So.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that, because you've kind of captured the high-level spirit of this speaker, Renee, and being Blue Ocean, there's a correlation there. But more importantly, sir, I want to see you on stage as a keynote speaker at a tech conference. Maybe a speech like, what? Me worried? Like the old Mad magazine from our youth?
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
you know what's funny, Harry, is on that end, several years ago, I was invited to an event to speak on a given subject, and the person that was putting this on knew me well enough that he didn't give me a specific topic or anything else. He just said, Kevin, you're going to have 60 minutes to fill. Come to our event and speak at our event. And so I chose, the title of my presentation was, Who Cares? And really interestingly, that whole premise of that conversation was around what I just shared. And so I was teaching people how to use the "who cares" phrase in their thought process from day to day. So when they, this where you're concerned, or let's say you're just even making an appointment at a business place, and you pull up to the place, and immediately your brain starts going, he's probably busy, probably has other things more important than this to do. Maybe this is not the right time. Maybe it's that alone can actually cause some people to turn around and drive out of the parking lot. Believe it or not, it actually happens. And then there's others that will go into the meeting having thought all of those things and be so intimidated by their own lack of confidence that they go in there and they bomb when they shouldn't have. And so I was essentially sharing that phrase with people. I says, the minute these doubts start coming to your mind, or these things that you're second guessing yourself come to mind, use these two words, who cares, and go do it anyway. And so the end of that story is my friend who had done a lot of high level events around the country. He was one of the speakers during the course of this 3 days. And he calls me afterwards and he said, Kevin, I got schooled at my own event. And I was like, so elaborate. And he goes, there were over 1,200 surveys that were returned back in from people who attended the thing. And on there, one of the questions is what subjects would they like to see come back next year? And he goes, for his presentation, he goes, I got like 20 people who clicked and said, please bring this presentation for last year. And then he goes, but the 1,200 surveys, he goes, it was somewhere north of 900. I don't remember but he goes, over 900 respondents checked, bring back the who cares guy. That's how important it is for us to really understand what our worries and concerns are and putting them in the proper category. So I'm sure Renee here hit a home run with this Blue Ocean shift. I just hope that everybody just took it to heart, because that's how important that stuff is.
Well, hey, they just rang the lunch bell, and my mama always taught me better to be early for lunch than late down here in Denver, Colorado. But I'm coming to you from Ingram One. Sir, always a pleasure. Let's conspire and get you up on a stage in 2020. I like it.
We'll do it. All right. Well, thanks as always, Harry. Thanks for the updates out of Ingram One, and thanks to everybody who joined us here on the broadcast. I'm Kevin Hunter with Harry Brelsford here on Tech Tuesdays. Thanks for joining us. Till next time, take care.